This is Justin.
And this is Haley. You're listening to The Price of Avocado Toast.
We're a married millennial couple wanting to normalize the conversations around money. We want to hear about your highs and your lows,
the do's and the don'ts on your path towards financial freedom. Hi Toasties, welcome to The Price of Avocado Toast.
Whether you're a first-time listener or you've been following us from the start of this thing, we're so glad to have this conversation with you today.
All right, guys, before we get started with anything, I owe a huge shout out to Garrett Davis, also known as Bearcat Shark. I don't know what I did, but I was editing this podcast a little earlier and I fidgeted with some buttons, and all of a sudden, Holly, the person who's going to be on this episode, sounded like a robot. and I could not fix it. I had to call Garrett all the way in Barbados, and he hopped on Zoom immediately and helped me. And everyone needs to go check out Garrett's music because he's legit. He's not just an amazing musician, he's a rock star human. So this episode wouldn't happen if it weren't for Garrett. So Garrett, thank you very much.
Yes, Garrett, you're awesome. Again, he's Bearcat Shark. Or I should say, we stole his song Liftoff for the intro. Well, we didn't steal it. He gave us rights to it. But nonetheless, he's incredible. So check out his music. Support him. Follow him on Instagram. I know he's got some projects in the work right now that are pretty cool. So shout out to him. Like Haley said, today's episode is an interview that we did with Holly. Holly is a first grade teacher in the same district that Haley used to work in. And she has been a huge supporter of ours since we started this. So we were really glad that we got to sit down with her and chat with another Sonoma County parent.
Yes, definitely. And another teacher, because we really relate to teachers. But if you want to be on the podcast, after you're listening to this, remember we're looking to talk to you. So please reach out on Instagram, send us a message, and we will set something up. We'll set up a Zoom call. No matter where you are in the United States or in the world, we can set something up. So we can get you on to talk to us about your story. You know, we want to hear average people. What are they doing? And, everyone's doing their own thing, whether it's good, bad, ugly, stupid, awesome. We're all just kind of figuring this out. So we really, really want to hear from you. So please reach out.
Absolutely. Anyways, enjoy our interview with Holly. Alrighty, you guys. Well, we are sitting down today with Holly. She's a first grade teacher in the district that Haley used to teach at. Holly, thanks so much for spending some time with us this afternoon and chatting.
Thanks for having me. Always good to talk with fellow teachers.
Yes. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, we're super excited to chat with you about money. You and I have chatted back and forth on Instagram, and our whole mission here is to normalize conversations about money with normal, average people. Not some rich person who has their life figured out, but people who are really just doing life and figuring it out as they go. And I was like, I gotta talk to Holly. I feel like have gone a similar trajectory because we went through the same teaching program and taught in the same district. So I'm excited to hear more about your story, more than I already know.
For sure.
So can you paint us a picture of your current financial situation, kind of where you guys are at?
Well, things just kind of changed for us this week, but so you want to know, well, what kind of things could I share?
Ooh, I would say, what's your guys' current relationship with debt? How do you guys with credit card debt, student loans, car loans? I don't even know, payday advances, anything that's like a debt. What's your guys' current relationship with that? How is it managing or dictating your life?
So our debt is pretty significant, and for us, we're paying it, we're doing it, but we're not getting ahead very well by any means. And I have about $90,000 in student loans. I started with about 23,000 when I left Sonoma State in 2009. And I even got I think like $22,000 from AmeriCorps, and I needed it to live on, so I just blew through the money. But I
Yeah.
also just kind of blew it. So anyway, then a few years later went to, and I hadn't been paying on that debt for a long time. I mean, basically, I'm still not paying it, because the payments are just ridiculous. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, same thing. I went to USF like you guys did, and I got a bunch of grant money, but it's so expensive to go there, and so and also we have a car payment. Um, I had bought a car back in 2015, and because we needed a bigger car, we had our daughter at the time, just one kid, and I wanted a fancy car. So, and I was thinking we weren't going to have any more kids. So, um, one day they contacted me from Hansel Ford and asked if I wanted to upgrade. And my husband, who is like not a money spender, and he's from Mexico, and so he's like absolutely hates any sort of debt whatsoever, really advised me not to do it, but I didn't listen. So now I have a huge car payment. Um, I did like a debt consolidation a few years ago, and that was a really good choice because I just had all these little debts that was about like $6,000 altogether. Um, with really high interest rates and stuff because they were cards that I had gotten before I had good credit. And I went to Redwood Credit Union and got some help and got the debt consolidation, which of course did a ding on my credit score. But
Mm-hmm.
I finally paid that off. Well, I was close to paying it off. Now I'm remembering. And then we bought another car. I just added more debt onto that card so that Tomas could get a car. But we just paid that off this year. So that felt really
Nice.
good. Um,
Yeah.
and then I just have some store credit, credit cards that I use here and there, but usually it just, has a very small balance and then I pay it off. But the main things is the car and the student loans.
Yeah. Definitely. So now, how many kids do you guys have?
We have two. We have a 6-year old and an almost a year and a half year old.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Super young then.
Yeah, you literally just painted the picture of me and and so many people I know that live here in the Bay Area. And so I feel like this will be relatable for a lot of people listening. Whether you live in California or not. So many
Hmm.
people have a crap ton of student loans. And it seems like debilitating to say, "Oh, I have 80 or $90,000 of student loans for one person." But unfortunately, that's super common, and
Yeah.
we're all kind of just figuring out how to make those payments. And the minimums are like 900.
Yeah, I know the most recent, um, because I do the income-based repayment because I'm on public loan forgiveness. Um, it's like with my most recent income was like 400 a month, but
That's huge. That's still really big.
well, when you have to pay for your own health insurance, basically, because my husband up
Yeah.
until recently, didn't have any health insurance through his work, so it was just me paying for everything, and um, it's like, $500 for that, and then plus he has a work truck and his regular car, so we had 3 cars on insurance, and it's
Hmm.
crazy.
It adds up really fast. There was somebody on Twitter that I saw the other day. Between him and his wife, every month it's $1,200 in student loans that they're paying out, and
That's the
they
payment?
live as their payment. Yeah, they live
Whoa.
in the Midwest somewhere. I can't remember where. I want to say Wisconsin actually. Now that I think about it, but I mean that's
Yeah.
just insane. How can you add that on to all your other bills that you have? And yeah, health insurance. Health insurance for our family through my district costs. I think it's $1,200 out of my paycheck every
What?
month. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
for Haley and the baby and myself, it's insane. And they pay, they pay $1,200 monthly for me. I shouldn't say it's not. No, what is come to? I think it's like 1,100 monthly for us that it's taken out of my paycheck. It's just insane.
Yeah, and I've spoken before on the podcast about how we actually chose the highest insurance, the one that costs more out of the paycheck, but then we pay nothing. Because I've heard so many horror stories about people like having a baby and then getting stuck with a $20,000 bill for having a child. And so I was really scared of that. And I figured for our situation, because we had so much debt, it was so significant that our best bet was to pay monthly, pay more money out of our paychecks, and then not be screwed over later. But I think we'll probably adjust that as we, get into, open enrollment and stuff now that we're a little smarter with our money. But yeah, still ridiculous.
Yeah.
It all adds up really fast for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
how do you guys talk to, or do you talk to the 6-year-old about money at all?
Yeah,
Or like, what does that conversation look like with a little one?
so we're just kind of now getting her into earning some money for doing chores and stuff. And, um, I'm really trying to get her into the idea of saving her money to, because, right now she wants to buy our toys and things. So, perfect example. She got some tooth fairy money, she got some chore money, and she was, feeling like, well, I've got $14. I am like rolling in the dough. And so we go to Target today, and this is like me not teaching good but money habits. We go to Target, and I let her go into the toy aisle because she wants to look to see what she wants to ask Santa. And the whole time I'm like, you have this much money, this is what you can buy, but you could get a bigger toy later if you save the money. And of course, she's my child. She wanted to buy what she wanted to buy right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's so we're just kind of now getting her into it. And I'm probably not the best teacher in terms of money. Probably she should listen to her dad.
Do you feel like there's a difference in how you guys discuss money, you and your husband, because of the cultural differences, you being from the United States and him being from Mexico?
Oh, it's huge. I could not. I mean, we're just totally different people. I mean, he came from a really rural, um, I guess town you could call it, in Mexico, and I mean, just like the poorest, that you can really think of. I mean, he even lived in like the middle of the jungle for like 4 years. I say jungle because it's pretty hot and humid there. Because his dad grew corn, and they didn't even have electricity for like 4 years of their life. I mean,
Oh,
that's
wow.
how poor of a background he comes from. Um, so for him, when he came to the United States when he was 17, for him it was all save, 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 because he
Mm-hmm.
knew he had nothing to go back to. So he saved about $25,000.
Wow.
Just, I mean, that was making like $10 an hour, but just living super, 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 super cheap, like literally, sleeping on floors and just whatever he could do. And he saved all that money, and he built his house back home, and that was his plan to go back. Um, and I grew up in a house where, and this is where I get my really bad habits from. My parents didn't make a lot of money at all, but they wanted nice things, and so they tons of credit debt, car debt, buying nice cars that they couldn't afford, the whole story. So when Tomas and I got together, I had the original debt, the student loan debt, but my car was paid off. So I didn't really have a lot of debt except for this credit card debt. And I wasn't really very honest about a lot of that stuff too. So then, once he started realizing how much debt I really had, and then adding on to the student loans from USF, it's created a lot of tension for sure. because that's not his debt, it's all mine. So, he definitely comes from more of a we need to save, let's be smart, we don't need that. He's way more of a minimalist than I am. I like, fancy stuff. I like to buy stuff that I don't need. And it's just, we could not be more different.
Is he swaying you at all towards the frugal side?
I don't know. It's really hard because, this week, so that's why I was saying our financial situation, just all of a sudden, if it works out, is changing. He just got a new job, got a huge raise. So I'm thinking I'm like seeing money signs. So I'm already like, "Ooh, what can I buy with
Mhm.
that?"
Yeah. For sure. It gets easy to do that, I think, when you start to get that lifestyle inflation, when things go up, you're like, "Oh, cool, I can
Mhm.
spend a little bit more."
Yeah,
It's a lot easier to think in that mindset than the opposite.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, he definitely tries to, tame it a little bit, but he's not really one to, really put up a huge fight about things. So if that's what something that I want, he's just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't go and buy the most expensive stuff. I still have kind of a I'm I spend money, but it's it's not extravagant stuff, you
Mhm.
know?
Do you think that part of it is just being a mom? We have a friend who's a mom of like 5 boys, and she cannot help herself with spending for them. It's rarely stuff for herself, but it's just like, I want to get this for the kids. I want to get this for the kids. I want them to, always have the snacks and the food and whatever they need for sports and all that stuff. And it gets really easy for her to spend for the kids. Do you think that that's part of it for you as a mom as well?
I mean, I could blame it on them for sure. Uh, I yeah, I mean, just like, this last week, it's like I'm buying them new shoes. I'm like, yes, it's fall. I get to buy the new shoes. Um, yeah, for sure. I mean, I spend way more and I, but I don't know. Again, it's like I'm shopping at Target and Walmart, Old Navy, and those kind of places. I don't feel great about shopping at those places, but again, I don't really go overboard in terms of like, spending
Mhm.
all at once, but over time, I definitely, like to spend. And it's always a constant battle in my head of do I need this? Do I not need this? So it's tough. I kind of have a really complicated relationship with money, I think.
Do you think that it all comes from like your parents and their spending habits? Because I mean, it seems like you were pretty, at least maybe now. I don't know if it was the same when you were a kid, but you're pretty aware of what some of their spending habits were, some of the like the lifestyle inflation issues. Were you aware of that when you were a kid, or did that just kind of come out over time?
My parents were always pretty open and honest about what's going on. I mean, I'm an only child, so um yeah, I think you can grow up a little bit faster when you're an only child sometimes. Because you're kind of like buddy with your parents. And not that they, burden me with their money problems and stuff, but I just know that money was a constant conversation in our house. And my parents went through two bankruptcies that I could remember.
Wow.
So, and one of them, my dad's no longer alive. He passed away 9.5 years ago. And that last bankruptcy is still haunting my mom. So it's both. I mean, I
Oh
was
no.
aware of the overspending and stuff when I was a kid. I would say an older kid, but as I'm an adult, I'm realizing, just talking to my mom and, like realizing, wow, you guys really, really overdid it. And my mom definitely did that whole mom thing. I mean,
Mhm.
she went nuts at Christmas. She went nuts at back to school time, Easter, whatever holiday you can think of. That woman was like doing it up. I mean, my Christmas My Christmases, I would never buy that much stuff for my kids as she did.
Elaborate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I talked to someone last week about the pandemic and how that affected their family. And I know you being a teacher, it has affected you just being online, but you still have a job. Has it affected your husband's job at all, or have you guys been pretty steady with your income throughout this whole COVID situation?
We've been really steady. Thank goodness. I mean, super lucky that the construction sector, that's where he's a stone mason, like apprentice, I guess. Um, that whole industry is just booming still. So he hasn't, I think very early on in the pandemic, like literally the first week, I think he missed work. That's it.
That's
Wow.
good.
Yeah, and that's easy enough to make up overtime with some overtime and stuff if you're only missing a week when they do like the original shutdowns.
Yeah.
That's not too hard to come back around on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, he just got a new job with the union. So he got really lucky. So in actuality, and then we got all the, stimulus money. So really, we're doing better than we were doing before all this.
Yeah. It's
Pretty,
kind of weird to feel like that too. Like, I mean, we've had months home with Calliope, and we've had some blessings. It's, like, man, it feels weird feeling like, oh, it's gone a little bit better for us than it has for some other people. But I was listening to a podcast the other day and he was saying, like, we never have to compare grief and we never have to, like match up our wins or losses in any type of fashion against other people because we have a tendency to do that, right? Well, like, oh man, I'm really bummed I didn't get to have my 21st birthday because of the pandemic. Oh well, at least it's not as bad as this or as bad as that. And it's like, hey, you're right, it's not as bad as that, but it's okay to still be bummed about that.
Yeah.
It's okay to still be like, oh shoot, I really wanted to do that. So, or it's okay to still be like, hey, we've had some time home with our daughter and we can celebrate that during a pandemic. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. So,
Well,
all right, you went to USF. We both went to USF. Did you do the
mhm.
tuition reduction rate thing? Did
I,
the Catholic school tuition discount?
so that was funny. I really lagged on getting started with that whole thing because I was very much against the whole policy to begin with. I mean, in my head, I'm like, Holly, don't be dumb. You need to do this. But I also had a 6-month old at home at the time, so I was literally not wanting to give up any of my time. But I
Mm-hmm.
finally, after calling and complaining about the policy, and because I thought, why am I helping these, wealthy kids? I want to go work in Roseland and help
Yeah.
help them. To me, that's more part of your mission. And I even wrote them this letter and stuff. Anyway, so I finally did, and I only did for like one semester, I think, but they never took the fee off. Even though I wasn't
What?
What?
volunteering anymore, they never took the reduction off, and I just never said anything. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. So they kept the reduction on.
Yeah, they did, but I only
Oh,
did the
sweet.
volunteering for one semester, and the teacher that I was
Well, that's okay.
working
That's
with,
their fault.
huh?
They rip you. They rip us off, so that's their
Oh
fault.
yeah, no, totally. And they still keep asking for money, and I'm like, go away.
Yeah, it's wild.
So you and I have talked on Instagram and made jokes back and forth. I post pictures of all my student loan debt, and you're like, "Oh, clearly you went to USF." Do you do you wish you had done things differently?
100%. And I feel like I got a good education from USF. And the reason why I chose that
Mm-hmm.
school was because I had a young daughter at the time. And I just, felt like it was going to be the easiest for me to manage.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had some struggles, after, during my pregnancy and after and all that. So I wanted to just get in, get out, get my education. So I guess, I would change it. I would just go to Sonoma State. I would just get my credential, and I would say screw the masters. I mean, excuse my words, but it's like I only get a small stipend for having a master's
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
degree.
not
it's
worth it.
And it's really not worth
yeah.
it. I mean, I haven't crunched the numbers, but I'm pretty sure that that master's is, yeah, it's not going to pay for itself, right?
You'd have to be teaching for
Way longer than
24, 25 years before it pays itself off.
Yeah, so it's not, it was totally not worth it.
No.
I regret it
Yeah.
100%.
It's interesting too because my twin brother went through the Sonoma County Office of Ed like be an intern program.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was in like pre-Hutchins at Sonoma State and then just decided to go do that program. And he saved so much money. He worked with phenomenal educators who
He had
still
no
had
debt.
no, he has no debt from it. He worked with educators who have the same social justice mission and ideologies as USF. So it's not like the training is wholly different than it is, other places. It would be one thing if it was vastly different and you're like, okay, cool, I feel much more prepared. And the educators at USF are phenomenal, but are they $50,000 phenomenal? That's I don't know. That's hard to say. At least on a teacher's, salary.
I don't think so. I just feel like when you're trying to get a credential, I mean, I I I really feel like the main learning that you do to become a teacher is doing your student teaching. I mean,
1,000%.
you can learn so much theory and all this, but it doesn't mean anything until you're actually in the classroom doing it. Honestly, I feel like it would be better to just, shadow a
Mm-hmm.
teacher and, do a tiny bit of theory and just
Mm-hmm.
mostly practice. Because when I got out and I went into fifth grade, I had no idea what I was doing at all.
Yeah,
And
Mm-hmm.
I
same.
mean, I wouldn't say at all, but I was terrified and I didn't feel any more prepared. I just feel like I should have just, done what was the one where you do it online? Um,
Oh, like Concordia or like University of what's it? What's
Phoenix,
that one? Phoenix.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Phoenix. Yeah.
or there was even a Cal State Teach or something that was online.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
For me, it seems predatory for there to even be a program where we leave with $50,000 worth of debt, but you're only going to go get a job making maybe $55,000-$60,000 a year starting, and then
Maybe.
maybe like when I started out, I was making $59,000 as a first year teacher, but that's in the most highest paid district in the county. Now Justin was in a pretty high paid district, but definitely not as much, making about $10,000 less.
Yeah.
And so it's just ridiculous. Trying to pay that debt off when your debt equals your income it's like impossible,
Yeah.
and
especially if you have any other debt.
and I just wish that I had someone to say, Holly, stop. What are you thinking? But my main source of support is my mom. And she's just like, oh, well, the interest rates are low, but it's not when they're up to 90K, And,
No.
I don't even pay on my student loans, to be honest with you. Right now, they're in zero payment. And actually, they
Yeah.
still count towards my public loan forgiveness. I just have to certify my employment. And those still count. But all I'm doing is just hoping that there's going to be some kind of debt forgiveness, because when I think about actually paying down $90,000, it just makes me sick. I'm just like,
It's insurmountable.
yeah, I mean, truly, it is. And my car loan is 3.5%, and my student loans are 6.8%. I mean, that's ridiculous. Student loans should not
That's
be
really high.
6.8%.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you didn't have that $90,000 at 6.8%, you could be putting so much towards a down payment on a house or anything, paying off other debt, paying off your car. But it's just this dark cloud
And
over you at all times.
it is. And when I think about it, when I think about who I was in the program with, there were 13 of us, I think. Everyone had people helping them through this with parents with money. And I didn't have any of that. I think my husband was making like $12 an hour at the time, and I was making like 14 or something ridiculous working at a school. I mean,
Yeah,
I was on
it's
food
insane.
stamps. Like, there's no way.
It's crazy. No, it shows you too, like how predatory student loans are with information coming out of President-elect Biden potentially taking care of any type of loan forgiveness or any type of debt cancellation, and there's so many people in support of it, and so many people saying, like, this isn't like a $1,200 stimulus at the start of a pandemic. This is life changing for so many people, and it shows you how predatory it is. But on the opposite of that, there's so many people who also say, well, I didn't go to school and I didn't take out that loan, so what are you going to do for me? Or, well, I already paid mine off, so what do I get? And it just shows you, it's sad and it's unfortunate how so many people don't want others to be okay.
Yeah.
So many people do not want others to be successful, and it's unfortunate. I one thing I really liked was a guy who said, you know what, I already paid off my student loans, but I would love it if everybody else could get theirs paid off in lieu of paying off my student loans because I don't have any more. Do you think President-elect Biden could just like give me a coupon to Dairy Queen so I can get a Blizzard? And I was like, dude, we need more human beings like you that are just like, I'll take like an ice cream shake and like a high five, and everybody else can just have their student loans paid off.
Oh, I mean, it would just be so huge for our economy. I was just always taught growing up, since I grew up, neither of my parents went to school. And so their whole thing was just it was grilled into me. You have to go to school. It's the only way out. It's your ticket to freedom. I mean, and they were right, I think, to some degree. But I mean, my husband, he didn't graduate high school. He didn't even, English is not his first language. It's not even a language that he's like strong in. And he is killing it right now. He makes more than I do. And he's and
That's
Good job.
awesome.
in
Yeah.
construction. It's like he
Mhm.
didn't need any degree to do this at all.
Yeah. It shows you too, like, there's nothing wrong with higher ed. Higher ed is great, and pursuing education should be, something that everybody has an opportunity towards. But it doesn't have to be this crippling life choice. When we make it like that, there's people who may have a support system who can tell them, "Hey, stop! Don't do this. You find another way around this." But for so many, there aren't, and we do it, and we make these choices, and then we're burdened with this debt that is like, you're staring up at it in a cost of living place like Sonoma County, just thinking, "There's no way. There's no way I'll ever get out from under this." And it's unfortunate because it could really stimulate our economy, making some choices around student loan debt.
Heck yeah, I'd be going out
Yeah.
spending all kinds of money.
Yeah.
So, Holly, what do you think was your biggest money mistake that you've made to date?
I almost said the USF thing, but it did get me where I am, and I'm grateful that I, have my teaching career and everything, and I'm proud of myself for, doing that and being one of the only ones in my family to graduate, well, the only one actually to graduate college.
That's awesome.
But that was a pretty big one. But I'm gonna say the car. I mean, that was just a clear example of getting my needs ahead of my wants, just so
Mhm.
blatantly. I mean,
Yeah.
the car that I had was fine. I was making payments. I think my payments were like 360 or something, and there was nothing wrong with this car. It was a perfectly good car, and I actually got the same car but newer and upgraded. So I just upgraded the
But
car. And
what do you have? What's the car?
it's a 2015 Ford Edge, but it's like the fancy model, the most expensive one. So it's a super dope car, but did I need the car? No.
Yeah, it's hard. What would you say is the best thing you've done with money? You're like, "Oh, that was smart, Holly. I'm so glad you made that choice."
I have not made
That's a good question.
many good financial decisions to date, but
Welcome to the club. Don't worry. You're talking to a couple of chair people in that club.
So when we got our stimulus money, we were we got ours right away, like in April we got it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So we did pay off Tomas's car and that loan that I was telling you guys about, the debt consolidation, which was really good because that was a 13% interest rate. It was cheaper than what I
Oof.
was paying on credit cards, but still 13%, not good. I mean, and to add another car loan onto that, that was silly, but we needed a car and I was just needed it fast. But yeah, thankfully we were able to pay it off. That felt so good.
Yeah, seriously. I wonder how many people did do that. Like take that stimulus check and
Pay debt off.
pay debt off. Yeah. Or or if other people were like out, I hope they weren't out celebrating. But you know what I mean. Like I'm hoping people did that. I know we did that. We put it on student loans. We stashed it away. I think for like 2 or 3 months, and then it ended up being like part of like an $8,000 student loan payment or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it did stimulate the economy if you think about it that way. Because that's the whole point about it. You know, giving people money so then they can then put the money back into the economy. We lowered our debt, therefore we're able to buy more things, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Probably the
that
same
freed
with
up.
you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it freed up almost $300 for us. I mean, and then, hundreds of dollars over time of saved interest for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually awesome. Yeah, that's a pretty good move. I would say that's a smart move, definitely.
Another thing that we did that was cool, and this was something we just kind of, got into by accident. So our neighbors, some friends of Tomas that he used to work with, they had this truck, this 2003 Ford Ranger, and they sold it to us for like $1,500. It's just like one of those little work trucks, that you see. And but it had, the rack and everything. And we were just gonna sell that and put it towards the Highlander. Um,
Hmm.
the Highlander was like $4,500 or something. And to pay off the Highlander really fast. But then Tomas is like, well, I'm just going to keep it. And he started doing side gigs and doing landscaping gigs. So, he's probably going to sell the truck now, but it's worth probably 3,000. So, I mean, we're going to be doubling our
That's
money.
awesome.
Again, this is
That's
all
rad.
on Tomas because he's just a hustler when it comes to money like that.
Yeah, for real. As you say, it sounds like he's got a killer work ethic.
Yeah.
He
That's
really
awesome.
does. And that's what's taken him so far is just being a hard worker, kicking ass at work, being a super humble dude, and people like him. That's how he got hooked up with this new job in the union, was just literally because someone liked him, thought he was a good worker, and wanted to bring him on.
That's
That's
legit.
awesome. That's so dope. That is like legit the American dream. Like come over, bust your tail, work for, pennies to just hustle and hustle and hustle to eventually get it to pay off.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We've been together for 9 years and we've both been hustling this whole time. I mean, I can say that there's not a day that has gone by that we have not done our best to get ahead and provide a better life for our kids. And I mean, that's what it's been all about for us. It's just
Hmm.
with this new job, if everything works out, I want to get ahead. He just started this week, but it is union, so it's pretty legit.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
once you get in the union, it's hard to get rid of you, right? We know.
For sure, for sure.
And,
That's super cool.
yeah, it's cool.
That just rocks.
It feels really good.
Definitely. And yeah, credit to you. I mean, you had a 6-month-old at home, you were working and you got into a master's program. You do hustle too.
Heck yeah.
That's insane. Like that's no joke. I remember all those readings from Wednesday to Saturday and you're like, how am I supposed to read all this in 3 days? Like, and to think you got a 6-month-old, like
And
no way.
and once she was walking and stuff, I mean, she's like banging on my computer and pulling the screen down. That was like her favorite thing to do, is bang on the keyboard and pull the screen down until the computer's flat.
Yeah, Calliope does that now, and I'm like, man, this is
You're gonna snap your
I
MacBook.
can't keep teaching like this, man. I gotta. It's just too damn hard.
Seriously. I have my baby in daycare because I cannot deal with it.
Yeah.
There's two of you guys, so maybe you guys make it work, but I just, oh, he,
Yeah, we've got our schedule down for sure. But yeah, there's two of us in the house. I mean, with Tomas out of the house, like it's all on you.
Yeah, because he has to go into school a couple days a week to teach from his classroom, which is stupid, but that's another conversation. So a couple of days a week, she'll stay in here, and I'll just put this like gate. I'm in the office now, all of you who are listening. I'll put this gate behind me, and she plays her toys over here. And sometimes I look, and she's just like trying to knock the thing over, the printer, and I'm like, this is just an accident waiting to happen. She's gonna get smushed. I can't do this while I'm looking at the screen while I can see her behind me. It's danger.
I pay $1,300 a month for that little piece of sanity that I get to go to work.
I like it. You did not call daycare. This is very clearly the piece of sanity.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no mistaking. That's what it is. No, and he's happier too. I mean, because I can't be there. I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He doesn't have cute dogs to keep him company.
Yeah, exactly. We're blessed like that, at least that Calliope's got dog friends to hang out with. So the final question I want to ask, what would you say if you could speak to like one person listening right now and they might make some crazy choice that you'd hear and you'd be like, oh my gosh, please don't do that. What would you stop them from doing? What are you like, no, please don't do that? From your own lived experience, what would you stop them from doing?
I would really advise people to stay away from that whole keeping up with the Jones attitude and having to buy fancy cars. I mean, you can buy a really, really nice used car and you don't need a fancy car to get you around. Wait until, you can put a huge down payment on, at least if you're going to buy a fancy car, make it to where your payments are way more manageable. I mean, anything over $500, anything over $300, in my opinion, is just overdoing it completely, especially if you're, you know, you're making good money, but you're not, making tons of money. I think that's a lot of people make that mistake of thinking that they need to drive a nice car, and, you don't.
Yeah. Nobody's worried about it. Like, nobody is looking at your car like, oh, I guess there's some people that are like, oh, that's a really cool classic car or something like that. But for the most part, people are in their own worlds. They got their own stuff going on.
Very true.
Well, I have to say, now I look at cars and I'm like, ooh, that's a fat payment. They have a lot of debt because I know they didn't pay cash for this.
And we can say that because we had a $675 car payment.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that was our 4Runner that we sold. And I feel so cool driving my mom's Suburban that's all tricked out, but it's a 2008. It's really old, but it's super nice.
250,000 miles on it.
Yeah, it's like about to explode. It's really cool.
Moss has a 2001 Toyota Highlander, and it's all tricked out too. For a 2001, I'm like, wow, you have some really sweet features. And it's paid.
That's awesome.
It's all paid, and it's actually a super cool car. It goes in the snow, and yeah, it's cool. So you don't need a fancy car. And also,
yeah, look at that,
don't
20
go
years
to
old.
Private school and let have your parents paying for it for you.
Preach, for real.
Private schools. That was the issue. It wasn't USF specifically. It was that they were a private university that cost so much money. I have my degree always on display because I'm like, I have to. It cost me $50,000, so I have to have it in a frame.
Yeah. Insane.
Justin's is right here.
Yeah.
Mine's over here on this wall.
Gotta be showing it for sure. Well, we don't want to take too much more of your time. It's your Thanksgiving break week. We want to let you enjoy that as an educator because you deserve it. But thank you so much for chatting with us. I mean, you've been one of the OG supporters on the Instagram page, and I know that when it was connected to my phone, I'd always see you engaging with Haley's stuff. So we appreciate your support, and we're really glad that you were able to come chat with us today. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
That's going to do it for this episode of The Price of Avocado Toast. As always, we are so thankful to have this conversation with you today and so thankful to be a part of this community. Happy budgeting.
You've got this, Toasties. Thank you for listening to The Price of Avocado Toast. If you vibed with this episode, share it with a friend. We'd love to continue building our listening community.
If you're interested in speaking more with a financial coach, hit up our coach Ryan at MeFinanciallyFree on Instagram. Use the promo code HELP50 in the consultation notes section to receive 50% off.